The title for today's webcast is Named Views and Layout Viewports in AutoCAD. So on the screen, you can see that the cover page of our AutoCAD Essentials Learning Guide. And just to mention all the information that I'll be sharing today, I have taken it from this learning guide. So let's get started with this class, which is all about creating new views and viewports in AutoCAD. Let's go over the objectives first and see what all we can accomplish by the end of this class. So the first objective is to create named views, which you can then access in model space or in paper space viewports. The second objective is to insert these named views of the model on paper space as viewports. The third objective is about creating and then inserting a view on the fly. This is useful when the desired named view does not exist. So in the next objective, we will learn to modify the viewports in a layout using the viewport grips. This includes resizing and moving the viewports around and also other modifications as well. Finally, we will copy the layouts and modify them, such as rename them, and then have only the appropriate viewports displayed in a particular layout. So what are named views? Named views are areas of drawing that are stored under specific names. While working on a large complex drawing, we might want to break it into specific areas, which we call as views, and that can become and these views can become readily accessible in both model space and in paper space viewports. So as mentioned, separate areas of drawings are saved with specific names, and these come in handy when we want to work on those specific areas. So instead of wasting time locating those areas in large complex drawings by zooming and panning, we can simply call those specific areas by their named views. For example, we can use named views to define a specific area in a large architectural plan, or we can have a defined view of each quadrant of a map, or have the defined views of small parts in a large mechanical assembly. Therefore, in large complex drawings, named views provide a faster method to display control, and it's a much more better and time-saving and efficient than using the zoom command in locating those specific areas. Now, how do we create those named views? The new view command can be used to create those named views. Although we can also create named views using the viewports dialog box, but today we will be using the new view command to create those named views. This is a quick and easy method of creating named views. The new view tool is available in the view tab, named view panel. You can see that on the screen. It's of the ribbon. And once a named view is created, it is automatically listed in the named view list, which is also available along with the new view tool, again in the same view tab and in the named views panel of the ribbon. And just to let you know, I'll be first explaining the topics or different objectives using the PowerPoint screen, as you can see on the screen. And then there will be after each objective or a pair of objectives, I'll be demonstrating it in the software using the AutoCAD 2025 software as well. So yeah, so it's just not the PowerPoint slides, but there is a demonstration as well. So now for the next slide, how to create named views, let's dive into creating named views using the new view tool. So when we select the new view tool, the new view short properties dialog box opens up. You can see that on the screen. Here we enter a name for the view. Then in the boundary area of the dialog box, what we'll do is we'll select the define window option. As soon as we select this option, the dialog box temporarily closes and we are switched to the drawing window where we can then define the view. As the name specifies, we create a window around the desired area of the drawing. Once the window is defined, the dialog box appears again. By clicking OK in the dialog box, the view gets saved with the name that we had specified in the dialog box. And it gets listed in the drop-down list. We can then recall those views from the list, which automatically zooms into that area that was defined in that view. Although these named views are created in the model space, but they become available in the layouts as well. And there, what we can do is we can easily insert them as layout viewports. That's another objective for today as well, how to insert those into the layout viewports. Now that we have created and saved the named views, as I mentioned in the previous slide, they get listed in the drop-down view list. Selecting a view here, what it does is it automatically zooms into the area that was specified for that view. And as I mentioned in the intro slide, these named views are valuable when we want to work on specific areas of complex and large drawings. So this is the demonstration part, and we will see how we can create the named views in the AutoCAD 2025 software. So you can see the floor plan here, and now we'll be creating different named views for different areas of this plan. In the View tab, Named Views panel, we open the view list. Note that there are no user created named views. So let's start the New View command. It opens the New View Short Properties dialog box. Here, enter the desired name, and I'll enter offices, and then click Define Window option, which takes us into the drawing window and temporarily closes the dialog box. Let's select the offices, like so, and hit enter. We are back in the dialog box. Click OK to complete the command. And then now, similarly, let's make two other views with the name stairs and elevators, like so, and another, so we select it in the window here and say OK. And then let's create another view of toilets, right so, and done here. And now let's open the view list and note the three named views that we created. Originally, when I showed you the view list, they were not available. So now when I click on offices, it goes and zooms into the offices area. So that's how it does that. Now, if I select the stairs and elevators, it automatically goes and zooms into that area. Similarly, the toilets area. So that's how it comes in handy when we have large complex drawings. So it's easy to find which area we need to work on. For example, right now we have the offices we have zoomed into, and maybe we want to put in more furniture there, or we have to maybe make changes to the walls, or make the offices, one of the offices bigger or smaller, or so on and so forth. So that is how the named views, we create named views, and how we zoom into those named views in the model space. Let's continue with our PowerPoint slides, and now we will talk about our second and the third objectives, which is about inserting named views into layouts and also creating a new view on the fly. So for both of those objectives, we use the insert view command, which provides a convenient, easy, and efficient way of inserting views. The insert view command is available once you are in a layout. So note on the screen that is available in the layout tab, this new view command, this insert view command. So it's available in the layout tab, which is a contextual tab. And what that means is that it becomes available only when you are in a layout. So when you're inserting a view of model on paper space, it is very important to set the scale at which the model needs to be printed. So this insert view command, what it does is it enables you to set the scale before placing the view so that you can see how the view fits on the sheet. So if you do not want to set the scale while inserting the view as a viewport, you can always use the regular viewport grips later on to scale. So when we used the original create viewport commands, like the rectangular, there were those commands originally, which still are there, like the rectangular, polygonal, and so on. We could set the scale only after placing the view on the sheet and not while inserting the view. So, but as I said, when using the insert view command, we can easily set the scale while we are inserting the view on the layout. Now, there are two ways that the insert view command can be used. One is that if a named view has already been defined in model space, then we can insert those named views as a viewport in the layout. And the second method is if we have not saved a desired area as a named view already. In that case, what we do is there is a new view option in the insert view command that enables us to create a view on the fly while we are working in a layout and then insert it right there. Now let's talk about the first method. Now, once we are in a layout and paper space, the layout contextual tab becomes available. In there is the insert view command icon. Once we click on the insert view tool, this icon, it opens a gallery of user created named views. We select the required named view from the gallery. Once the view is selected, its boundary gets attached with the cursor. You can see that on the lower image on the screen. And once the boundary gets attached with the cursor, what we can do is based on the view boundary, we can assess at this point whether it is the correct scale. And if it is not, then we can always right click to display the list of scales and select the one that is best suited for our view here. And we can try different scales also and see which one is the best option for us. Before we commit to a scale and have the boundary of that size. Now, once the scale is set, click to place the view as the viewport. This command gives you the option of setting the scale before placing the view as opposed to the conventional insert view where the scale can be set only after the view has been inserted. Of course, we still have the option of setting the scale after we place the view by using the regular viewport grips to scale, to resize, and move the viewport. We will get to the viewport grips in our next objective, but first let's cover the how to insert the named views. Now, the second method of creating views is, I'm not saying named view because we won't be creating a named view here. It is just a view. And it is by using the new view option of the insert view command. This is an extremely useful option. It can be used when no named views are available or when the desired view is not available as a named view. This option works very similar to the new view command that lets us create named views. The difference is that we cannot enter a name for the view, and therefore it does not get saved in the insert view gallery for future use. The creation happens on the fly while we are inserting the views. To use this command, we select the new view option in the gallery, which switches to the drawing window from paper space. Here we create a window around the desired area, And then when we press enter, which it switches us back to the layout where we can click and the boundary again gets attached with the cursor of the view that we have already specified in the window. And then we can click to place the view, or if the scale does not look correct, we can then right click and select the correct scale before committing to it, before clicking to enter. And once the correct scale is there, then click to place the view. Here also we can scale it after inserting by using the viewport grips. Now for this demonstration, for the objective number 2 and 3, let's insert the named views and also create and insert another view on the fly. So let's start by inserting the views that we have already created as named views. We'll insert in the layout or paper space. So we go into the D-size layout tab, note the layout and contextual tab in the ribbon and click on insert view tool, which opens the gallery. Here we can see the 3 different named views that we have already created. So let's first insert the office's named view by clicking on it, and see the boundary gets attached to the cursor. I think the scale looks okay, so I'll just click to place the view. So now let me insert the stairs and elevators named view. Click and bring it in. Let's make it slightly smaller. So I right click to display the list of scales, select the scale, appropriate scale, and now click to insert a smaller viewport. Now let's insert the toilets with a smaller scale. So here we set the scale, make it smaller, and then click to insert. So now we decide that we need a view of the foyer, but we do not have it created as a named view for that. So for that, I click the new view option, which takes me into the drawing window. Here, we select the foyer as the view, and it moves us back into the layout where the boundary it gets attached with the cursor. So let's simply place it for this time being, as we will then use the regular viewport grips on it, because I can see it is a bit smaller. We could have a bit bigger, we could have made it smaller, but because I want to demonstrate the grips using the viewport grips in the next objective, so we'll do that on this foyer viewport. So let's, for the time being, continue with our PowerPoint slides. So now we'll talk about the last two objectives together, which is the viewport grips and then also copying and modifying layouts. So when we select the viewport boundary, so once we enter the viewport, it has a boundary around it. So when we select that viewport boundary, what happens, the viewport grips, it becomes highlighted and viewport grips become available. And they make working in a layout very easy and efficient. So there are 3 types of grips available in a viewport, which are square grips, and these are available on the corners of the viewport. And then there is a square grip in the center of the viewport and a list grip again, which is again in the center of the viewport. The list grip has a horizontal bar and the downward arrow. That grip is a list grip. Each of these has a specific function. The corner square grip can be used to easily resize the viewport, which means that it just resizes the viewport boundary, which lets you control what all is visible in that area of the viewport boundary. If you make the viewport smaller, it just cuts out some portion out of the visible area. And if you increase the size of the viewport boundary, that will include additional areas in the viewport display. So it just resizes the boundary and does nothing with the view itself. That's a different one, that's scaling. when we resize the view itself. Now then, there is the middle square grip, which works like a regular move grip. It is used to move and place the viewport at a new location in the layout. And the third type, which is the list grip, that lists the various scales. And that one is used to set the viewport scale. You can scale the objects in a viewport to print at a specific scale factor that is relative to the paper, which in essence means that the scale sets the size of the drawing of that view, and that is relative to the paper. Paper space, and this can be used to scale the view after the view has already been placed, because we are selecting this scale after we have placed the view, and we are seeing the grips. Now, when you're working with projects, now we talk about the layouts. That was the fourth objective. The grips was the fourth objective. Now is the fifth objective for today. Which is about copy and modify layouts. So when we are working with projects, we need to have as many layouts in our drawing as the number of printed sheets required to describe each part of the model. And the easiest way of creating layouts is by copying existing layouts. We can then modify them by first renaming them appropriately and then adding or deleting viewports and other objects to the new layout. When we can copy a layout by right-clicking and selecting the Move or Copy from the menu. That's the right-click menu. And this opens the Move or Copy dialog box where we can select Create a Copy option. And that copies. If we do not select that Create a Copy option, it will simply move the layout. So it's important, if you're copying, you have to click on that Create a Copy option. And you can also, so we can also select Move to End. So what it does is it gets the copy at the end of the layouts. So the layouts are listed in the status bar of the screen. I'll be showing it in the demonstration once I get to the demonstration part. And then these layouts, if we select Move to End, it will get added to the end of the layouts that are listed in the status bar. Now, once we say the copy layout has the same name, but with a number appended to it. So it makes it like, for example, there's desized. If we select that and then we copy it, it will make it desized number 2, then desized number 3, and so on and so forth. And that doesn't actually show what the layout is about. So it's always a good idea to rename those layouts. And how we can rename is by right-clicking on the copied layout and selecting Rename from the right-click menu. And then we can rename the layout. Now, this is the final demonstration for today, which will where we will see the working of the viewport grips and also work with layouts. So now let's use the viewport grips on the foyer viewport. So let me select the viewport boundary, which displays the grips. As I mentioned, there are 3 types of grips: the corner grips, and the square grip, and the list grip. So first, I will scale this viewport to make it slightly smaller. To do that, I will use this arrow or the scale grip, list grip, and it displays the list of scales. So let me choose an appropriate scale to make the viewport smaller. Now, using the middle square grip, let me move it away to the top right corner, as it was otherwise, overlaying on the other views. And you can see at the lower end of the bound foyer is kind of cut off. So what we'll do is we will just move now the square grip and just get that into resize the boundary so that the foyer is selected together. Now that this is set, let me right click on Desize Layout tab and select Move or Copy. The Move or Copy dialog box opens where I can select and create a copy and move to end and say OK. Once I did that, the Desize create a copy and with to appended at the back, right click, select rename, and I will rename it to offices so that I will make this viewport only for the offices. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete the rest of the viewports out there and leave only the offices in there, and then select the viewport boundary for offices and scale it to make it bigger, and then use the middle square grip to center it and place it on the sheet in paper space. So this is the layout which will have only the offices in there. Now we have the D-sized and it has all the views in there. We will rename it to say all views, like so. So that we know that this layout has all views and the other layout has offices. Now we will right click and again create another copy of the all views viewport at the end, and then renamed it to say stairs and elevators. So we will have a designated layout for just stairs and elevators. So once we create that, we open the stairs and elevators layout and then delete the rest of the viewports and only have the stairs and elevators viewport. Select the viewport boundary and scale it to make it bigger such that this, and then we can just set it in the center. Move it like so using the middle grip, and then place it on the center so that we have a designated layout for just stairs and elevators. Again, go to all views and make a copy, another copy of it. Use move and copy, move to end, and then create a copy and say OK. And then all views gets created, another layout, and rename it to saying toilets so that we can have a designated another layout for just the toilets. So again, do the same thing, delete the rest of the viewports and leave the toilets in there. And then select the viewport boundary for the toilets and use this list grip to appropriately scale it, and then move it to the center of the layout. And so now we have all those, we have the all views, offices, stairs and elevators and toilets. We also, just made it cleaner, just move the square grip. Now we have a sample view layout available, which does not make any sense. We'll just simply go in, right click and delete it. And so that we have a cleaner layout things, we have all views, we have offices, we have stairs and elevators, and then finally we have the toilets as well. So each one of them has a view, designated layout for them, and all views has all the 4 views that we had created. So this completes our today's webcast, and now let me recap. So what we were able to achieve today was that we created the named views in the model space, and those named views got listed in the view list. We also accessed those named views in the model space where we were able to zoom into those specific areas. Then second objective was that we were able to insert the named views of the model on paper space as viewports using the insert view gallery. And then we also created a view of that foyer on the fly because we had no saved named view for that area of the drawing. We then use the viewport grips to set the scale of the viewports and then we also move the viewports around and also were able to resize the viewport boundary. And finally, we copied an existing layout and then renamed it and modified the layouts to display the appropriate viewports only in that layout. So with that, I will hand you over back to Karine.